His voice out there. Let's try it once again so that by the time we get everybody back from tea and coffee, we know that the energy of the house has only gone up. Good afternoon. Much better. The tea and coffee works, and may I request you all to please come back and join us for the Power Pack technical session that we are going to have right now. So please put your hands together as I invite our next speaker, Mr. VT Rao, industry consultant, and he will be sharing his knowledge on building a stronger tooling ecosystem, collaboration for growth. A huge round of applause for Mr. VT Rao.
Thank you. Okay. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So I think we had a similar subject or the same subject yesterday. I think there was a panel discussion on the same subject. So you can consider this as an extension of the same. And what I would stress upon is whatever I am going to talk for the next 15-20 minutes is something more to do with plastics, slightly on automotive side, more on automotive side. And probably you can apply this on any other consumer durables also. So, how do we grow? We grow with collaboration. How do we build a stronger tooling ecosystem? We can do it with collaboration. So, going forward, so as a country, as a tooling fraternity, how do we move forward and how do we grow? So the answer is collaboration. So in collaboration, you all guys know who are the stakeholders. So it may be a repetition for some of you, and for the people who are not exactly in the plastic industry, probably you can take it as an information. So these are purely my observations and my opinions, so don't draw any conclusions. So who all have to come together is OEs, tier 1s, tool makers, subcontractors, standard element manufacturers, for that matter even the texturing companies. So if you are all together, or if we are all together, then we can do some wonders for the tooling fraternity. We can do wonders in the so-called collaboration, and we can do wonders for the country and for ourselves. So mostly any business for that matter has to be a win-win. So think for yourself, even if it is a OE or tier 1 or a tool maker, are you in a win-win situation, or you are just going ahead only by terms and conditions of the OE or the tier 1, for that matter the subcontractor is being pushed by the tool maker. So think for yourself, but for me any business for that matter has to be a win-win situation. If you are in win-win situation, that means you are doing a healthy business. Everybody knows it, but probably sometimes we put our deaf ear and move ahead. In the previous panel discussion also, the director from Macro was talking again and again on the same thing. So we all need to realize and move in a direction where we create a situation of win-win. Okay. So according to me, so as I started saying that it is only my opinion, and it's not taken from any book or it's not taken from somebody. So this is my opinion. So what should the OEs do, and what are they actually doing right now? So for people to understand how the business of plastic injection molds is happening right now, I'll just take a minute on it. So normally the OEs do their styling, do their engineering, mature the data to a 60 or 80% level, and then they float an RFQ. Then probably the tier 1s and the tool makers quote based on that maturity, and the OE negotiates and kicks off the project. So this is what is happening in the industry. But for me, if we have to do better as an ecosystem, if we have to do better as a team, if we have to do better as partners, my takeaway is the OE has to call in the tier 1 and the tool maker at the beginning of the program, which means when the OE does his styling and the basic engineering, even before maturity, he can call the tier 1, he can call the tool maker, he can have the list of parts, say these are the list of the components that we are going to bring in this project. So tentatively you are going to be the tier 1 or you are going to be the tool maker, and he can share the milestones. So normally what happens is in the regular business, in the past when I was with Mahindra, I have seen that most of the time the tool maker and the tier 1, so tier 1 sometimes comes to know what are the milestones of the OE, but tool makers I have seen in 80% of the cases, the poor guys are not even aware what the OE milestones are. So they always face some surprises. So if you don't want to create that situation, if you want to make things in place and things happening properly, then the OE has to call in the people in the beginning of the program. So what happens then? The tier 1 and the tool maker can go home, do their planning. In fact, the tool maker can probably look at what the capacity is for the next 6 months or the next 1 year. And in case he has to work on resources or he has to think of recruiting people from feasibilities, or he has to offload anything, whatever it is, so he can do some kind of planning and be ready for the project to be kicked off. So, and probably the RFQs can follow later, which means the OE need not give an RFQ with the concept design or the concept stage at which he has called the tier 1s in the tool makers for these meetings, for making them understand what the project scope is and what are the milestones. Okay. So the RFQs can come later. So in case we talk of bringing in tier 1s into the picture now, which means there are cases where OEs directly select the tool makers, negotiate and bring them on board and tell the tier 1, this is my tool maker, you are going to take the tool from this tool maker. That is one situation. The other situation can be the OE sometimes tells the tier 1s, okay, this is the bunch of the parts that I have given you. You decide the tool maker and I want the finished product. So considering both the situations, so OE or the tier 1, or when we bring them together, let's say OE and the tier 1, can always create a basket of tool makers, be ready with part wise or system wise. So once that is with them, then half job done. You don't need to look for or search for tool makers when the actual CAD comes to a release phase. So growing together, what is growing together? Growing together is prospering together, coming together, staying together. So are we growing together? I don't know. Probably for me the answer is no. It may hurt the feelings of the OEs or the tier 1s, but I've been in this industry for the last 30 years, and what I have seen is, I don't think so we are growing together. Maybe the OEs and tier 1s are growing much faster than the tool makers. So if you have to grow together, then what are you supposed to do? First thing is, open your heart and give the right cost. The OE and the tier 1 are supposed to give the right cost to the tool makers. Right now, I am not trying to blame the tier 1 or the OE. There are pros and cons on what is happening right now in the industry with respect to or with OE and tier 1 perspective. And there are issues on toolmaker side. There are good and bad on the toolmaker side also. So, we will talk on that later. But when we talk on costs, my request is the OEs and tier 1s are supposed to give the right cost to the toolmaker. If you give the right cost, it will enable the toolmaker to survive, probably expand, build his competencies, probably involve his teams for trainings, whatever it is, probably clean up his shop, build a new shop, infrastructure. So, whatever has to happen with the support of good cost. If he is not doing a healthy business or if he is not getting the right cost, so you cannot expect him to prosper or do any kind of improvements in the shop floor. So, first thing is, please give the right cost. Then what? Let's assume that there is a right cost given to the tool maker, you have the right tool maker for the right part or the part that you have selected. You have kicked off your project. So, after kicking off the project, during the development phases, let's say it is feasibility or manufacturing phase, whatever it is, communication is very important. Why I am telling communication is very important is I have seen a lot of cases myself when I was in the OE. I have seen cases even after I have come out of the OE, where a group of people from a OE and the tier 1 land up in a tool shop one fine day and tell him, okay, these are the 10 parts that you are supposed to do and this is the time frame, we are supposed to finish in 75 days. The tool maker says, okay, fine. So, you give me the data which is matured on this day and I will give you the part on the 75th day. It so happens that even after 20 days after this discussion, neither from OE nor the tier 1 goes to the tool room or speaks to the tool room. So, what is this tool maker supposed to do? So, after that, probably after 10 more days, again the same team lands up saying that, boss, we discussed, this is your trial date. So, it remains the same and they do not bother to talk of what they have lost in the last 20 days. That is the reason I am saying communication and transparency is very, very important. Whatever decisions are tier 1s and OEs taking, please take the decision with proper communication and transparency. Do not bulldoze or push everything on the tool maker. So, to make it little interactive, my request is, can you just spread the mics, 3 or 4 mics, maybe we will try to make it interactive. Request, please. Okay. So, any decision taken by the OE and tier 1 should also not put the tool maker into losses. I have seen cases, certain decisions taken by OE and tier 1 has gone to the extent of scrapping the steel also after the blocks are in the shop. And nobody decides from the OE or tier 1 what is to be done about those blocks. Are you going to compensate for that or should we wait for the next program to come in? Nobody knows. So, request is, please do not bring such situations. Give time for the tool maker to do his job. Let him do a proper feasibility, let him plan his shop, let him plan his resources, let him plan his subcontracting. Give him time to do the tool properly. And also, there are a lot of tool makers who have come and told me, sir, OE1, OE2 tells me I am a good tool maker, but there is never any kind of appreciation that I get in terms of a mail or in front of some other customer or in front of some other tier 1, I have never seen any kind of appreciation. So, it does not take time or effort to appreciate somebody if somebody has done a good job. So, request tier 1s and OEs to at least appreciate if somebody is doing a good job. And you can give the same feedback even if it is not good. You can tell him, boss, you have to improve, otherwise we are going to blacklist you. It's fine. But let there be some two-way communication or some feedback after the job is done or during the job is being done. Okay? And respect the tool maker. I have seen I worked at least with 30 tool makers in India and 30 tool makers abroad during my Mahindra phase of work life. So, most of them have told me that, sir, we do not have any respect. OEs and tier 1s take us granted. And there is sense and meaning to what they are saying. So, I give one example of how they push on the timeline and how they communicate or how they do not communicate properly. That was one example. The other example is, let us say there is a trial done, T0 done on 25th of March. So, somebody from OE and the tier 1 comes, they looks at the part, they say, okay, please send us 10 parts. Parts are dispatched and the tool maker says, please give me a feedback in a couple of days. But unfortunately, the tier 1 and the OE does not give me a feedback for almost a month. And after 35 days or 40 days, the same group goes there one fine day in the evening at 5 o'clock and tells him, I want 50 parts tomorrow early morning. How is it possible? Just being a customer does not mean that you can ask anything that you want, which is not practical or which is illogical. So, that is where it comes from. Do not take the tool maker for granted and please respect the tool maker. Okay. Okay. By doing all this, what is the benefit? I am sure the whole ecosystem is going to get benefited. It could be a benefit to the OE, it can benefit the tier 1, it can benefit the tool maker, and when we go down, probably it can be helpful to the subcontractors also, because you have a sequence, you have a plan, you can foresee what you are supposed to do or do after 6 months, 3 months, whatever it is. So, you are actually planning. So, let us bring in this kind of condition in the tooling industry, at least when I talk of automotive. Probably this can apply to the other appliances or the domestic consumables also. So, apart from OEs and tier 1's lives made easy, the tool makers' lives also can be easy. Your production timelines can be shortened, so you can do more projects, which means better economy for everybody or better financials for everybody, and you will build your relation. If you have this kind of relation, which means if you have respect for each other, regard for each other, so I think any kind of work can be done on the phone instead of making your people from the OE or tier 1 sit at the tool maker's place for, let us say, I have seen a lot of examples where the OE says, okay, I am going to send my engineer tomorrow, he will be there for 1 month with you. What does it mean? But where was the failure? You have not kicked off the program on time. You have not given the data on time, but you are making the tool maker only responsible for everything. I do not think it works that way. Okay. So, these are some of the benefits that we will all have if we work the way that I have talked about. What are our concerns? So, today, yes, a few of the concerns we have discussed or which I have told in terms of tier 1 and the OE. Coming to the tool room, okay, there are tool rooms which are good, there are tool rooms which are of mediocre level, there are tool rooms which are poor. So, based on where you are today, based on your awareness, please improve. For sure, not all of us are good. We do not meet any good standards, forget about the world standards, but at least to face customers in India, we have to raise our bar to a certain level. I am sure you have to work on it and you have to improve your tool rooms. Okay? And the other point is, look at your own shop. What is the relation that you have with your people, let us say the owner of a company to the sweeper of the company. In between you have so many levels, so many people. What is the relation that you have? I have seen abroad and in India, when the top guy in the company has respect for his people in all levels and has a relation with the sweeper of the company, they are really doing good. It means there are some ethics that follow your business or vice versa. So, try to have a good relation with your people, respect your own people, train your people. If your machines are falling short or if the quality of the machines are not good, please change on time. Probably you can keep a timeline of 5 years to 7 years, but do it. We are not talking of exports here, probably sometime in the future, if we get an opportunity, we will interact on exports, but at least to satisfy the customers in India, these are the basic things that we are all supposed to do. Okay? And okay, we have covered the cost part, so I have just put it again because it is a portion which comes under concern. So, please give payments on time. I have seen a lot of cases that the payment dues are pending or hanging on with the OE or the tier 1 for 6 months, 1 year, 2 years. Why is it so? We are all so mature enough. The people sitting in the OE or the tier 1 should be concerned, bothered to give the payments on time. It's a basic thing. You're taking your tools, you're taking your parts from the tool maker, but you don't bother to give the payments on time. How does it work? Okay? So, my request is, please change your attitude towards each other. If we have to grow as a company, as a country, if we have to prosper as partners. I've been listening to a lot of people saying, oh, he's my partner. If he's your partner, then please treat him as a partner. Please walk whatever you talk. Okay? So, these are some of the concerns that we have and more. What we see is the lot of ECNs which are being released after the T0 has happened or T1 has happened or T2 has happened. Probably the OE or the tier 1 has not done their homework properly. So, request is, please do homework properly and kick off the tool so that you land up in less ECNs, less rework, and you don't mess up the plan of the tool room, you don't attack their bottom lines. Nobody is compensating for loss of time on ECNs, nobody is compensating on the overall turnover loss that one generates by doing 100 ECNs on one tool, or exaggerating, but 20 ECNs or 30 ECNs on one tool. It's never going to be a profitable business for the tool maker. So, request is the tier 1s and OEs should do their homework and then probably kick off the data or kick off the tool when the data is properly matured. These are all very small things, but I thought I need to consolidate because all of you are here and it might bring in a small impact on all of us. Okay. And I have also seen OEs and tier 1s pulling out good people from the tool makers. What are you trying to teach? I know yesterday there were guests in the morning talking on taking care of tool maker, but they themselves are doing this. Request is, please, I think you should have some kind of ethics, etiquettes, even when you are taking people. Okay? Not to offend somebody, but this is the practical difficulty that we are in today. And if nobody wants to speak on it, everybody wants to be silent on it, it's not going to happen. Okay, beyond collaboration or beyond what all we have discussed, what tier 1 should do, what OE can do, my request is go a bit beyond all that. So you will see some examples of going beyond the normal collaboration that we talked about. So in Mahindra, when I was in Mahindra, I'm sorry, I'm not Mahindra anymore, I'm ex-Mahindra, I'm a consultant, small-time consultant now. So when I was in Mahindra, we started the tooling cell in 2009. I joined in 2007 and we started tooling cell in 2009. And we focused on localization from almost 2010. And we went to a range of 60 to 80% by 2018, which means so many tools were localized in India, including instrument panels. Okay. And we did the first FEC ever in India with metal inserts. So this should not have happened if probably I should not have taken the initiative or the OE should not have taken initiative. So please go beyond all this, break the barriers, see what you can do, keep everything close to your heart and keep doing your best. Okay? I will finish it in 2 minutes. Okay, these are some of the things that we did. So this was Thar, which was almost 80% done in India when the two-door Thar was launched. And here we had gone to the extent of talking to Dr. Pawan Goenka. So when he came to know through Chief of Purchase, Mr. Sikka, that we are going to do XUV 700 IP in India and top-up pad in India, he was surprised. He called us for a meeting. He said, please get it done in either China or Korea. You are trying to attempt such a big tool and this is a prestigious product. We said, sir, don't worry. You sleep well. We are here to take care of it. And you will not believe, guys, during the COVID period, we did extra machining even on Sundays. We produced this part. T0, 100% okay. Both top-up pads and IP. And Dr. Goenka was very happy after seeing this. So these are some of the things that we have to go beyond all the normal work that we do. That's not enough. Okay? So the first FEC was done and now probably I think the 6th FEC or 7th FEC is going on in India. And pillar trims with parting line on A surface was never done before, but we started off. We are using a lot of 3D printing. Wherever we foresee any kind of warpages, okay, let's use technology. We have technology. So please work as a team, go beyond the normal things that we do. We started off doing small lamp toolings also in India. Okay, coming to the global trends. So I've checked with my friends and good known people abroad. So whatever I spoke in the first slide saying that OE calling the tier 1 and the tool maker at the beginning of the program is being done by VinFast, Jelly and Stellantis. Stellantis is doing certain programs in Italy and Europe. I've checked with them. Jelly is doing in China. VinFast is also doing in China in the similar model. The OE is calling the tier 1 and the tool maker at the beginning of the program, even before his data is matured to 50% of maturity. So these are some of the things that we have to take from the global trends. Okay, that's it. I'm sorry I shot up the time and thank you so much. Thank you all for bearing me. Thank you Tagma for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you once again, Mr. Rao, for that engaging presentation. A huge round of applause for him. And also we'd like to felicitate you. So may I request Mr. Raj Singh, EC member, to do the honors. Huge round of applause for the gentleman.
Thank you, Mr. Raj Singh. Thank you, sir. I come this side. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you all for bearing me.
Thank you so much. And before we move